There's no such thing as a perfect video game. It's impossible to make something every single person will love. If you need evidence, Assassin's Creed Origins, the latest in Ubisoft's 10-year-old historically minded sci-fantasy saga, is strong proof. By retooling the series' stealth-centric open-world action mechanics to accommodate more combat and an emphasis on simple but pervasive loot, developer Ubisoft has worn the series' mechanical signature too thin. The new mechanics don't work as well as they should, and the stealth gameplay lacks refinement, since the game wasn't designed with those mechanics in mind. At the same time, the game does a couple of things incredibly well. A prequel to the entire series set in ancient Egypt, Origins' vast world is one of prettiest you'll see in a game this year, both on an aesthetic and technical level. The story, which clearly serves as a sort of jumping-off point for a new era for the series, also has strong character moments and more than clears the lowered bar we've set for the series after its last few forgettable chapters. Assassin's Creed Origins isn't the radical paradigm shift fans hope to see from the game, which comes after the annual franchise took a year off in 2016, but it is also definitely a departure from the series' stealthy roots. We can't say whether that departure went too far or didn't go far enough in our review, but Assassin's Creed Origins lacks a clear sense of self, mechanically. The result is a game that's often beautiful to behold, but a struggle to play. Once upon a time in the land of Egypt, in Origins, players turn back the clock to 49 BCE and jump into the shoes of Bayek of Suwa, a Magi, which in the game is a sort of regional sheriff. Following a personal tragedy, Bayek swears revenge against a shadowy cabal called the Order of the Ancients, whose tactics, political connections, and rhetoric all bear a strong resemblance to the series' primary villains, the Knights Templar. From there, Bayek and his equally capable wife Aya become elite spies for Cleopatra, eliminating members of the Order and turning the tide of an Egyptian civil war. The plot of Assassin's Creed Origins is the rote retread of a quintessential AC story that you'd expect, and suffers many of the problems commonly seen in prequels. There are winks and nods to various details of AC lore seeking a wow responses from fans who played the game every year for a decade. A few of these anecdotes, like the story of why every assassin cut off one finger to wear the hidden blade, are fascinating in an almost historical sense. You'd been told the story before, but now you've seen the real reason. More of them feel forced and unearned, however. Neither Bayek nor Aya ever say the words Assassin's Creed together, but they use the words multiple times with a cringe-inducing level of reverence. And yet the game's story is one of its stronger elements, because well-defined characters like Bayek and Aya keep things interesting. Many video game protagonists are heroic, doing good for goodness' sake, but Bayek is among the few you would describe as genuinely kind. Origins goes out of its way to portray Bayek as friendly and invested in the fates of others. Even outside of the core story, Bayek's wandering around Egypt is littered with small quest chains that introduce characters, many of whom he knows from his years as a Magi. Picking up these relationships in the middle, by and large, opens the door for a level of personality and nuanced affectation that you don't often see in interactions with minor characters. Aya, who you also control in some sections, and is present for many of the game's core story moments, is equally well-defined, and perhaps more interesting. She's more of the traditional self-serious badass, but she shows enough emotional range to suggest that she's reacting in a human way, which makes you feel for her. This is especially clear when Bayek and Aya are together. They clearly love each other, but they're also angry, grieving, and have trouble being together. She's taken to the role of political advisor far more willingly than Bayek, and their differing perspectives make for some genuinely interesting conversations. As with every Assassin's Creed, we're experiencing Bayek's story through the lens of another character, who's using a device called an animus to see the life of an historical figure using their DNA. Enter Layla Hassan, a boisterous Abstergo employee using DNA from Bayek's mummy to see his life,